This kindness was extended because the Kenates had themselves exercised loving kindness with all the sons of Israel at the time of their coming up out of Egypt. 1 Sah 15. 5, 6. Compare X 18. 8, 9. New 10. 29-33. Later, David told Achish that he had made a raid upon the south of the Kenates. 1 Sah 27. 10. But this was part of a subterfuge. Actually, the Kenates were on friendly terms with the Israelites. Thus, David sent some of the spoil seized from the Amalekites to those in the cities of the Kenates, probably in the mountainous region of southern Judah. 1 Sah 30. 29. Families of scribes residing at Jabez were Kenates that came from Hamath, the father of the house of Rechab. 1 Ch 2. 55. They are mentioned in connection with descendants of Judah. 1 Ch 2. 3. The fact that the Kenates lived in association with different peoples at various times and places may imply that this nomadic or semi-nomadic people was not entirely absorbed by any other tribe or people. The Bible does not specifically report what happened to the Kenates, also called Cain. Balaam's proverbial utterance concerning them posed the question: how long will it be till Assyria will carry you away captive? New 24. 21, 22. So it may be that some Kenates lived in the northern kingdom of Israel and surrounding areas and were taken captive along with them by the Assyrians. 2 Chi 15. 29. 17. 6. Kenizite Keniz middle Zite of belonging to Kenaz. 1. Member of a non-Israelite people in Orni Canaan whose territory was promised by Jehovah to Abram's seed. G 15. 18, 19. The Kenizites evidently moved into the Negev from this, possibly spreading over part of Edom as well as what became southern Judah, doing so prior to the Israelite conquest of the Promised Land. The Kenizites have been linked by some scholars with the Kenaz, who was a sheikh of Edom descended from Esau through Eliphaz Ge 36. 15, 16, and thus are viewed as a prominent Edomite family. There is, however, uncertainty as to the actual identity of the patronymic ancestor of the Kenizites since the Bible itself does not provide details in this regard. The fact that, in Abram's time, Jehovah listed the Kenizites among those occupying territory that was to become the possession of Abram's CGE 15. 18, 19 does not favor the view that a Kenizite zotextoi acute muritra longo, Keturah 147 pretty as Job's daughters in all the land. Job 42. 15. The bluish-white metallic substance antimony produces a brilliant black color that was used by Oriental women of biblical days to dye their eyelashes and perhaps their eyebrows, or it was used to color the edges of their eyelids, thus making the eyes appear large and lustrous. C2 Chi 9. 30. J4. 30. Kerioth Keira middle Dodath towns. A place mentioned in 2 prophecies against Moab. J48. 24. And 2. 2. The meaning of its name may indicate that the city was comprised of several smaller towns. Kerioth's exact location is uncertain. Some scholars tentatively suggest Saliyah, a site about 16 kilometers 10 miles of Dibon and end of the Arnon. Others believe that Kerioth is perhaps the same as S of Arnon. This view seems to find some support in the fact that and Kerioth, although figuring as principal cities, compare Am to 1-3. The 2. 9, 18, do not appear together in lists of Moabite towns. Compare Issa 15 and 16. J48. The Moabite stone, although giving no hint as to the location of Kerioth, does indicate that the god Chemosh had a sanctuary there. Kerioth Hezron Keira middle Dodath Hezron towns of Hezron. Another name for Hazano. 3. A town of Judah that has tentatively been identified with Bad El Kiedin Tel Kiryayot, about 20 kilometers 12 miles of Hebron. Jos 15. 25. Keros Keiros possibly, Stutova. The founder of a family of Nethinim, some of whose descendants were among those returning to Jerusalem and Judah with Zerubbabel after the Babylonian exile. Es 2. 1, 2, 43, 44. Ne 7. 6, 7, 46, 47. Kezil constellation Keselheb. Kezil, stupid. though this word is used many times in its basic sense of stupid, compare PS 49. 10. 92. 6. PR 1. 22, yet the context in 4 places Job 9. 9. 38. 31. Am 5. 8. And Isa 13. 10 here in the plural indicates its use to designate a stellar body or group. The term is generally considered to apply to Orion, also called the Hunter, a very prominent constellation containing the giant stars Betelgeuse and Rigel. The Latin Vulgate translated Casil as Orion in Job 9. 9 and Amos 5. 8. Most translations imitate the Latin Vulgate in viewing Casil as referring to Orion. The ancient Targum and Syriac versions read giant, and this corresponds to the Arabic name for the Orion constellation, Gibbar, or strong one Hebrew equivalent, Gib . The term is used at Amos 5. 8 in connection with the reproof of Israel for failing to search for the true God Jehovah, the maker of the heavenly constellations. At Isaiah 13. 9, 10, where the plural Kazi and their constellations of Kazil is used, the description is of the day of Jehovah, in which proud and haughty tyrants will be abased and the celestial bodies will cease to give their light. Keturah Chura from the root meaning make sacrificial smoke. A wife of Abraham and the mother of 6 of his sons, Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua, ancestors of various and Arabian peoples dwelling to the S&D of Palestine. GE 25. 1-4. Keturah is specifically referred to as Abraham's concubine at 1 Chronicles 1. 32, and quite apparently she and Hagar amend at Genesis 25. 6, where reference is made to the sons of Abraham's concubines. Keturah was therefore a secondary wife who never attained the same position as Sarah the mother of Isaac, through whom the promised seed came. GE 17. 19-21. 21. 2, 3, 12. Heb 11. 17, 18 While Abraham gave everything he had to Isaac, the patriarch gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and then sent them away from Isaac his son, while he was still alive, eastward, to the land of the east. GE 25. 5, 6. It has been contended that Abraham took Keturah as a concubine prior to Sarah's death, some thinking it improbable that he would have 6 sons by one woman after he was about 140 years old, and that he would then survive to see them attain an age at which Otextoi acute miritra longo, key 148 key. An instrument used to lock or unlock doors and gates. Key is used both literally and figuratively in the Bible. The key of biblical times was often a flat piece of wood having pins that corresponded to holes in a bolt that was inside the door of a home. Such a key served to push the bar or bolt inside the door, instead of being turned in the lock as is the modern key. The key was often carried in the girdle or was fastened to some other object and carried over the shoulder. Isa 22. 22. Egyptian keys of bronze or iron have been found, consisting of a straight shank approximately 13 cm 5 inches long, with 3 or more projecting teeth at the end. The Romans also used metal keys, including some of the type made to turn in locks. Keys of bronze have been discovered in Palestine. Moabite King Eglon used a lock and key for the door of his roof chamber. JG 3. 15-17, 20-25 Certain post-exilic Levites were entrusted with temple guard service, being placed in charge of the key, even to open up from morning to morning. 1ch 9. 26, 27. Figurative use. In the figurative vein, the Bible uses the term key to symbolize authority, government, and power. Eliakim, elevated to a position of trust and honor, had the key of the house of David put upon his shoulder. Isa 22. 20-22 In the Middle East, in more recent times, a large key upon a man's shoulder identified him as a person of consequence or importance. Anciently, a king's advisor, entrusted with the power of the keys, might have general supervision of the royal chambers and might also decide on any candidates for the king's service. In the angelic message to the congregation in Philadelphia, the exalted Jesus Christ is said to have the key of David, and he is the one who opens so that no one will shut, and shuts so that no one opens. 3. 7, 8 As the heir of the covenant made with David for the kingdom, Jesus Christ has committed to him the government of the household of faith and the headship of spiritual Israel. Luke 1. 32, 33 By his authority, symbolized by the key of David, he can open or shut figurative doors, or opportunities and privileges. Compare 1 Co 16. 9. 2 Co 2. 12, 13. How did Peter use the keys of the kingdom that were entrusted to him? Jesus said to Peter, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of the heavens, and whatever you may bind on earth will be the thing bound in the heavens, and whatever you may loose on earth will be the thing loosed in the heavens. Mount 16. 19 The identification of these keys logically must be based on other scriptural information. Jesus made another reference to the subject of keys when he said to the religious leaders, versed in the law, you took away the key of knowledge. You yourselves did not go in, and those going in you hindered. Luke 11. 52 A comparison of this text with Matthew 23. 13 indicates that the going in referred to is with regard to entrance into the kingdom of the heavens. Thus, the use of the word key in Jesus' statement to Peter indicated that Peter would have the privilege of initiating a program of instruction that would open up special opportunities with respect to the kingdom of the heavens. Different from the hypocritical religious leaders of that time, Peter clearly did use divinely provided knowledge to help persons to enter into the kingdom, notably on 3 occasions. One was on the day of Pentecost 33 CE when Peter, under inspiration, revealed to gathered multitude that Jehovah God had resurrected Jesus and exalted him to his own right hand in the heavens, and that Jesus, in that royal position, had poured out Holy Spirit on his assembled disciples. As a result of this knowledge and acting upon no textui acute miritra longo, kidnapping 149 the first prospective members of the kingdom of the heavens from among the Gentiles. The unlocked door of opportunity for Gentile believers to become members of the Christian congregation thereafter remained open. Act 10. 1-48. 15. 7-9. Matthew 16. The 19th of may be rendered with grammatical correctness. Whatever you may bind on earth will be the thing bound or, the thing already bound in the heavens, and whatever you may loose on earth will be the thing loosed or, the thing already loosed in the heavens. A translation by Charles B. Williams here reads, whatever you forbid on earth must be what is already forbidden in heaven, and whatever you permit on earth must be what is already permitted in heaven. Greek scholar Robert Young's literal translation reads, whatever thou mayest bind upon the earth shall be having been bound in the heavens, and whatever thou mayest loose upon the earth shall be having been loosed in the heavens. Since other texts make clear that the resurrected Jesus remained the one true head over the Christian congregation, it is obvious that his promise to Peter did not mean Peter's dictating to heaven what should or should not be loosed, but, rather, Peter's being used as heaven's instrument in the unlocking, or loosing, of certain determined things. 5 Jehovah Hova the causative form, the imperfect state, of the Heb. Verb, ha become. Meaning he causes to become. The personal name of God. Isra 42. 8. 54. 5 Though scripturally designated by such descriptive titles as God, Sovereign Lord, Creator, Father, the Almighty, and the Most High, his personality and attributes, who and what he is, are fully summed up and expressed only in this personal name. PS 83. 18. Correct pronunciation of the divine name. Jehovah is the best known English pronunciation of the divine name, although Yahweh is favored by most Hebrew scholars. The oldest Hebrew manuscripts present the name in the form of 4 consonants, commonly called the tetragrammaton from Greek to Middle Dotra, meaning 4, and gramma, letter. These 4 letters written from right to left are and may be transliterated into English as Yor, JHVH. The Hebrew consonants of the name are therefore known. The question is, which vowels are to be combined with those consonants? Vowel points did not come into use in Hebrew until the second half of the first millennium CE. See Hebrew, 2 Hebrew alphabet and script. Furthermore, because of a religious superstition that had begun centuries earlier, the vowel pointing found in Hebrew manuscripts does not provide a key for determining which vowels should appear in the divine name. Superstition hides the name. At some point a superstitious idea arose among the Jews that it was wrong even to pronounce the divine name represented by the tetragrammaton. Just what basis was originally assigned for discontinuing the use of the name is not definitely known. Some hold that a name was viewed as being too sacred for imperfect lips to speak. Yet the Hebrew scriptures themselves give no evidence that any of God's true servants ever felt any hesitancy about pronouncing his name. Non-biblical Hebrew documents, such as the so-called Lachish letters, show the name was used in regular correspondence in Palestine during the latter part of the 7th century BCE. Another view is that the intent was to keep non-Jewish peoples from knowing the name and possibly misusing it. However, Jehovah himself said that he would have his name declared in all the earth. Acts 9:16. Compare 1 Ch 16. 23, 24. PS 113. 3. Al 1. 11, 14, to be known even by his adversaries. Issa 64. 2. The name was in fact known and used by pagan nations both in pre-Common Era times and in the early centuries of the Common Era. The Jewish Encyclopedia, 1976, Volume 12, p. 119. Another claim is that the purpose was to protect the name from use in magical rites. If so, this was poor reasoning, as it is obvious that the more mysterious the name became through disuse, the more it would suit the purposes of practices of magic. When did the superstition take hold? Just as the reason or reasons originally advanced for discontinuing the use of the divine name are uncertain, so, too, there is much uncertainty as to when this superstitious view really took hold. Some claim that it began following the Babylonian exile 607-537 BCE. This theory, however, is based on a supposed reduction in the use of the name by the later writers of the Hebrew Scriptures, a view that does not hold up under examination. Malachi, for example, was evidently one of the last books of the Hebrew Scriptures written in the latter half of the 5th century BCE, and it gives great prominence to the divine name. Many reference works have suggested that the name ceased to be used by about 300 BCE. Evidence for this date supposedly was found in the absence of the Tetragrammaton, or a transliteration of it in the Greek Septuagint translation of the Hebrew Scriptures, begun about 280 BCE. It is true that the most complete manuscript copies of the Septuagint now known do consistently follow the practice of substituting the Greek words Kyrie middle.os Lord, or the middle.os o text to acute muritra longo, Jehovah 6 Inventory No. 266. Picture, Volume 1, p. 326. It regularly presents the Tetragrammaton, written in square Hebrew characters, in each case of its appearance in the Hebrew text being translated. This papyrus is dated by scholars as being from the 1st century BCE, and thus it was written 4 or 5 centuries earlier than the manuscripts mentioned previously. C&W Appendix, pages 1562 to 1564. When did the Jews in general actually stop pronouncing the personal name of God? So, at least in written form, there is no sound evidence of any disappearance or disuse of the divine name in the BCE period. In the 1st century CE there first appears some evidence of a superstitious attitude toward the name. Josephus, a Jewish historian from a priestly family, when recounting God's revelation to Moses at the site of the burning bush, says, "Then God revealed to him his name, which ere then had not come to men's ears, and of which I am forbidden to speak." Jewish Antiquities, 2, 276-12, for Josephus' statement, however, besides being inaccurate as to knowledge of the divine name prior to Moses, is vague and does not clearly reveal just what the general attitude current in the 1st century was as to pronouncing or using the divine name. The Jewish Mishnah, a collection of rabbinic teachings and traditions, is somewhat more explicit. Its compilation is credited to a rabbi known as Judah the Prince, who lived in the 2nd and 3rd centuries CE. Some of the Mishnaic material clearly relates to circumstances prior to the destruction of Jerusalem and its temple in 70 CE. Of the Mishnah, however, one scholar says, "It is a matter of extreme difficulty to decide what historical value we should attach to any tradition recorded in the Mishnah. The lapse of time which may have served to obscure or distort memories of times so different. The political upheavals, changes, and confusions brought about by 2 rebellions and 2 Roman conquests. The standards esteemed by the Pharisee party, whose opinions the Mishnah records which were not those of the Sadducean party. These are factors which need to be given due weight in estimating the character of the Mishnah's statements. Moreover, there is much in the contents of the Mishnah that moves in an atmosphere of academic discussion pursued for its own sake, with so it would appear little pretense at recording historical usage. The Mishnah, translated by H. Danby, London, 1954, pages 14, 15. Some of the Mishnaic traditions concerning the pronouncing of the divine name are as follows. In connection with the annual Day of Atonement, Danby's translation of the Mishnah states, "And when the priests and the people which stood in the temple court heard the expressed name come forth from the mouth of the high priest, they used to kneel and bow themselves and fall down on their faces and say, Blessed be the name of the glory of his kingdom forever and ever." Yom 6. 2 of the daily priestly blessings, Sota 7. 6 says, "In the temple they pronounced the name as it was written, but in the provinces by a substituted word." Sanhedrin 7. 5 states that a blasphemer was not guilty unless he pronounced the name, and that in a trial involving a charge of blasphemy a substitute name was used until all the evidence had been heard. Then the chief witness was asked privately to say expressly what he had heard, presumably employing the divine name. Sanhedrin 10. 1. In listing those that have no share in the world to come, states. Abbasol says, "Also he that pronounces the name with its proper letters." Yet, despite these negative views, one also finds in the first section of the Mishnah the positive injunction that O textoi acute miritra longo, Jehovah 7 Hebrew scriptures in later copies. The reader, of course, found the tetragrammaton completely replaced by Kyrie middle dot os and the middle dot os. See Lord. Translations into other languages, such as the Latin Vulgate, followed the example of these later copies of the Greek Septuagint. The Catholic Douay version of 1609 to 1610 in English, based on the Latin Vulgate, therefore does not contain the divine name, while the King James Version 1611 uses Lord or God in capital and small capitals to represent the tetragrammaton in the Hebrew Scriptures, except in 4 cases. What is the proper pronunciation of God's name? In the second half of the first millennium CE, Jewish scholars introduced a system of points to represent the missing vowels in the consonantal Hebrew text. When it came to God's name, instead of inserting the proper vowel signs for it, they put other vowel signs to remind the reader that he should say Adho middle dot name meaning sovereign Lord or Elo middle dot him meaning God. The Codex Leningrad B19a, of the 11th century CE vowel points the tetragrammaton to read Ua, Ui, and Iho middle dot Wa. Ginsburg's edition of the Masoretic text vowel points the divine name to read Iho middle dot Wa. GE 3. 14. FT and Hebrew scholars generally favor Yahweh as the most likely pronunciation. They point out that the abbreviated form of the name is Yahjah in the Latinized form, as at Psalm 89. 8 and in the expression Ha middle dot Leluya meaning praise Jah, your people. PS 104. 35. 150. 1. 6 Also, the forms Iho, Yo, Yah, and Yehu, found in the Hebrew spelling of the names Jehoshaphat, Joshaphat, Shaphatia, and others, can all be derived from Yahweh. Greek transliterations of the name by early Christian writers point in a somewhat similar direction with spellings such as I middle dot A middle dot B and I middle dot L middle dot E, which, as pronounced in Greek, resemble Yahweh. Still, there is by no means unanimity among scholars on the subject, some favoring yet other pronunciations, such as Yahuwah, Yahuwah, or Yahuwah. Since certainty of pronunciation is not now attainable, there seems to be no reason for abandoning in English the well-known form Jehovah in favor of some other suggested pronunciation. If such a change were made, then, to be consistent, changes should be made in the spelling and pronunciation of a host of other names found in the scriptures. Jeremiah would be changed to Jeremiah, Isaiah would become Yesha-Yehu, and Jesus would be either Iho-Shua as in Hebrew or I-E-Sus as in Greek. The purpose of words is to transmit thoughts. In English the name Jehovah identifies the true God, transmitting this thought more satisfactorily today than any of the suggested substitutes. Excerpts from the Psalms, Dead Sea Scroll. The tetragrammaton appears repeatedly in distinctive ancient Hebrew characters. Jehovah 8 Importance of the name. Many modern scholars and Bible translators advocate following the tradition of eliminating the distinctive name of God. They not only claim that its uncertain pronunciation justifies such a course,